joining us today. So for our practice, as far as props are concerned, we probably won't need too much this evening. Certainly your yoga blocks and a strap, if you have them available. You can always find something around the house to use as a strap, and if you don't have any blocks, please just find a relatively equal stack of books, somewhere around 6 or so inches. We won't need them a lot for tonight's practice, but there are certainly 1 or 2 poses where it would be nice to have them just in case. So we are going to be focusing on a bit more of a solar practice today, so we'll be doing a lot more dynamic flows initially. 3 different rounds of actual sun salutations in varied forms. So we'll really build up a lot of the heat, and then from there we'll start to explore opening into the hips, and we'll play around a little bit with our half lotus variations. Now, when we are going to be looking at practicing half lotus posture, there should of course never be any discomfort within your knee joint, and the simplest modification is always going to be just to take the ankle off the leg and drop the heel down onto the floor. This way you're not going to deal with, exacerbating an old injury. And in particular tonight, since we will be kind of revisiting that particular position, even if you are feeling a little bit of twinge or a little nagging discomfort, I will urge you to back off, since we will come into half lotus at least 3 different times tonight. So be mindful of your knees, treat them kindly, only do what feels right. So we'll start first with our traditional Surya Namaskar A, followed by Dancing Warrior 1 and Dancing Warrior 4. So a couple real fun dynamic flows to get into our practice tonight. So you can come on up to the top of your mat to begin. So setting yourself up in your equal standing pose. Anchoring down equally through the 4 corners of your feet as you allow the tops of the leg bones to push back. This will help you to better stack the core of your hips over the fronts of your heels, and getting that sense of planting yourself down through the bones of your legs. Now, once you really feel planted, it should become easy to get a little taller, drawing in and up through the lower abdominals to help propel your heart upwards. Lifting the crown of the head while also allowing the roof of your mouth to remain nice and relaxed. Tuning into your equal breathing. As you inhale, feel the breath expand and rise. As you exhale, it descends back down, planting you into your base. And a little bit of constriction in the throat will help you get that ocean-like sound that we aim to cultivate, our Ujjayi breathing. This will also help us to build a little more heat tonight as we move through our flows. So 1 more breath cycle here in the mountain. Eyes softly gazing into the distance. Your exhalation really grounding you into the earth. So on the inhale, we can lift up high, reaching overhead, gaze up toward your thumbs. Pull your hips way back as you fold, hinging in half, head to knees. You draw yourself halfway up, breathe as much space in between the vertebrae of the spine as you can, and then step back to a plank position. Shoulders atop wrists, you can lower down, knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board through chaturanga, whatever feels best for you. Cobra or upward dog, pull the heart forward, and then rolling over your toes to downward dog. Taking the feet in maybe just a little bit closer to your hands so as to give you a good sense of standing equally through your palms and your feet. And then bit by bit, breath by breath, drawing the hips back and away. 1 more exhale. And at the end of that breath, look forward, inhale your way up to the top of the mat. With a step or a hop, long spine, melt your way down, rolling the weight into the forefeet. Inhale, up we go. Stretch the arms into the sky. Stay connected through the margins of your feet, arms by your sides. Inhale, up we go. Look to your thumbs, keeping the neck long. Fold all the way down, head to knees. Toes are soft when you lengthen your spine, and then step or hop your way back, reaching shoulders to tail, tail to heels as you lower. Opening the heart fully, breathe well into the tops of your lungs, and then roll over your toes, downward facing dog. So setting your pose, and then right away, settling into your breath. So long inhalations, lengthening spine. Full exhalations, pulling hips away. The peak of every inhale, bringing space into the shoulders, into the arm bones. Every exhale, maybe stretching into the hips just a bit more. And then looking forward, when you're ready with an inhale, step or hop to the top, lengthen the spine. Gazing a few inches past your mat, dive down, head to knees. Rise on up, reaching in the heavens, arms back by your sides. One more time. Inhale, lift it up, fold all the way down, head to legs. Halfway now, inhale. Step or hop your way back, lowering with control, keep the elbows nice and close to your ribs, and then push through the inner margins of the hands, draw your heart forward. Exhale, roll over your toes for 5. Deep quality breaths. 4. Savoring the end of every exhale. 3. Keep the head heavy, neck long. And 1. At the end of that breath, look up, step or hop to the top. Fold your way down, head to knees. Up we go, lifting into the sky, gaze high. Equal standing, looking over the horizon. Give yourself a breath. Our first iteration of Dancing Warrior. Make sure your big toes are connected. So as we bend the knees for Utkatasana, we can hug them together. So inhale, hips low, heart high, lift up. Exhale, fold your way down. So draw length into your spine, keeping your toes soft. Take it back to downward dog, moving through your vinyasa, whatever that may be. So you might modify, or you might just step directly. And of course, the traditional flow, as Amber's demonstrating, is always available. Lifting your right leg as we inhale, stretch the hips back, and then exhale, step up between your hands, dropping your back heel for Warrior 1. The inhalation lifts us, reaching the arms into the sky, eyes on the horizon. Exhale into your flow, or shortcutting to downward dog. So whatever suits you and your practice today. And we're all coming to the mat with something different. Switching sides. Left leg inhale, slow. Exhale, step. Grounding the back leg, rising up as you solidly root through your right heel. Hands to earth as we move into our vinyasa. Listen intently to your breathing. Long exhale, reach through the heels, and then inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step. Sitting your hips low into Warrior 1, lift up. At the peak of the breath, you're done. Hands back to the mat, lowering into your vinyasa. Cobra or upward facing dog. What back then makes you smile most? Downward facing. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step. Stand equally through your 2 feet as you rise. Vinyasa. One more time on both sides. And the features of the face should remain relaxed. Brow soft. Inhale, right leg long. Exhale, step. Virabhadrasana 1, eyes on the horizon, or eventually looking to thumbs. Exhale, flow. Full breath, pull the heart forward. Exhale, over the toes. Last side, left leg lifting with the inhale, step. Warrior 1, fill whole capacity of your lungs. Exhale, make your way to downward dog. And then this is the downward dog where we'll stay for a few breaths just to collect ourselves. Alternative option to downward dog, puppy, or child's pose, just depending on where you're at. Lengthening your exhalations, and in turn, allowing the inhalations to grow deeper. And shoulders broad across the back. One more breath cycle. So if you're in child's pose, return to downward dog, and from downward dog, at the end of the exhale, look up, forward you go. Step or hop to the top as you lengthen your spine out and then dive down into your forward fold. Bend your knees, sit low into the hips for Utkatasana, straightening up, arms by your sides. Okay, stand still for a moment, take a breath. One more dynamic vinyasa, Dancing Warrior. So we'll take it nice and slow for our first cycle, just to get the sequence down. Bending the knees at the end of an exhale, sit low for fierce posture, inhale, arms stretch up high. Hinging at the waist, down you go, lifting the hips to the sky. Lengthen your spine out, and then vinyasa. Traveling mindfully with your breath.
So for this flow, when we lift the right leg, we're gonna bend the knee and roll the hips open for an added stretch at the front of the thigh, then step up. Starting with warrior one, anchor the back heel as you lift your arms overhead. Then open to warrior two, widening your stance just a little bit. From warrior two, left hand to left hip. Inhale is gonna reverse our warrior, gazing up underneath the right elbow. Stay low in your lunge, and then coming forward, lightly connect your elbow to your thigh as the left arm stretches beside the ear for side angle posture. The back leg is your anchor as the left arm pulls you back up to warrior two. Take it through your vinyasa, hands to the mat, either stepping straight back or drop into that flow. So as we lift our left leg, we'll bend the knee, roll the hips open, stepping up right between the hands. Plant the back heel for warrior one, hips square as you lift, and then we'll open the hips out to the side for warrior two, widening the stance. Right hand to right buttock as you roll back with an inhale. Now the exhale will be side angle, elbow to thigh, right arm reaching beside the ear, but roll the belly and the hip back. Warrior two, the right arm draws you up, vinyasa. So 2 more rounds, but now we're gonna move pose per breath. Inhale, right leg lifts and bends. Exhale, step. Fill yourself up for warrior one. Exhaling, open your wings. Left hand to hip as you roll back with your inhale. Exhale, side angle, right elbow to right thigh. Warrior two, left arm pulls you back up to center. Hands to the mat, shoulder width as you step back, making your way to dog. Left side, inhale, lift that leg, bend that knee. Exhale, step. Warrior one, try to softly smile. Warrior two, open it up. Right hand to right hip, roll back with an inhale. Left body stretches, left elbow to thigh, right arm reaching. Pull it back up, warrior two, take it to downward dog. One more time through the cycle. Try to take your mind out of the equation. Let your body lead you. Right leg, inhale, lift. Exhale, step. Warrior one, fill yourself up. Open your wings, empty. Roll back, deep breath, reversing. Side angle, feel the stretch on the left waist. Warrior two, pull yourself to center and then take it into your flow. Last side, left leg, lift as you roll open, exhale, step. Virabhadrasana, roof of the mouth is relaxed, eyes are soft, open your wings, exhale. Reverse it, deep breath into the left body, side angle, keep your right heel planted. Warrior two, draw to center, take it through this last flow, making your way to dog or child's pose. The body should feel a little warmer, the connective tissue more open. Your breath may have become a little short or shallow, so take the time to bring it back into a place of equilibrium. But acknowledge as well all of the changes, the obvious or the subtle, that have occurred since we began. Last exhalation here. And then when you're ready with an inhale, making your way back up to the top. Long spine, pull the hips back, fold, head to knees. Bend those knees as you sit. Inhale, fierce posture. Pushing the legs straight, arms by your sides. So soaking up those flows for a few moments here in mountain. Okay, stabilize your breathing. Eyes steadily gazing. Calmly place your hands on your hips. Pop the feet open the width of your waist, and then folding forward, make a grab for your big toes, and if they're too far away today, by all means just grab your ankles. Bending the knees as you need to accommodate hamstrings. So for Padangusthasana, We should allow the weight to roll forward slightly into the forefoot as we energize the lift of the fronts of our legs, drawing our knees and our thighs gently up into the hips. But better still today, imagine that you could widen your leg bones apart, pushing your right thigh bone to the right side of your mat and your left thigh bone to the left side of your mat. You shake out the head a little yes, a little no. Last exhalation, folding in by leading with your heart. And then fingertips to the mat, lift halfway. So just one tiny toe heel step. Shorten your stance by about 4 inches. Bend your knees slightly and send your left leg to the back of the mat for a long lunge. So for our full runner's lunge stance, the right knee should be directly atop your heel. So if it's not yet, just go ahead and wiggle your back foot back a little further. Okay, frame the right foot with your hands, either resting on fingertips or onto blocks. Now we're going to aim to stretch the front of our left hip as we pulse up and down. So when we inhale, we'll lift our hips a few inches, and when we exhale, we'll sink. But the whole time, I want you to focus on straightening your left leg, lifting your hamstrings and your calf muscles right up toward the ceiling. So as we inhale, pull your hips up about 2 inches. Exhale, right knee lunges, left heel back. Inhale, scoop out your belly. You can even look toward your navel. But when you exhale and lunge, open your heart, gaze forward. 3 more times, rise and fall. But every moment through this vinyasa, the back of the left leg is lifting. It's pushing strongly toward the ceiling, hamstrings and calf muscles. One more time, keep the weight in your feet. Try to straighten that left leg as much as you can, 100%. And then drop the left knee. Pointing the foot away. You can remain on your fingertips as you allow your hips to sink down and forward, emphasizing the stretch on the left hip. Stage 2, take your hands to your right knee and lift yourself up. Okay, if your back knee, your left knee is a little sensitive, throwing a washcloth or a bath towel underneath it here will help you to feel a little more comfortable and at ease. Keep your face relaxed as you gaze over the horizon. And in order to find perhaps a little more stretch in the hip, all you have to do is lift out of the front of your belly. Okay, by moving the lower tummy in, it's going to help us to tuck the tailbone under, which will lengthen those hip flexors. Now we'll take it into a twist. So lifting the left arm way up into the sky with an inhale. Exhale, turn your belly, bring the elbow outside of the knee as you press your hands to prayer. Lengthen your spine, moving your heart away from your right hip, and then turn through the waist, eyes gazing up toward the ceiling. Now you're welcome to remain in this kneeling position for a gentler release as you focus the breath in the low back. Okay, if you're aiming for something that's going to generate a little more heat, then you're welcome to tuck the toes of your left foot and lift that knee off of the ground once more. Last 3 breath cycles. So really feel the expansion of your inhale moving through your low back and the back of that right hip. And exhale completes the twist. Turning back to center, hands to the mat, tuck your left toes for half monkey, keeping the left knee on the floor, hips back with an inhale, and then folding over the right side. It's melting into your hamstrings and your calf muscles. One more exhale here. And then returning to a lifted lunge, rock forward, lifting the left knee off of the mat. Okay, walk your right foot 3 steps back and turn the toes out to the right side of your mat. Now planting down through your left palm, roll the right body open, placing your hand on your knee initially as you stack your shoulders and look up toward the ceiling, keeping the head right in line with the spine. Okay, really radiate through your left heel, pushing through the sole of the foot as you balance on the pinky toe side. Stage 2, you're welcome to lift your right arm up into the sky. And then of course, stage 3, Vakshisthasana, stacking the heels with just 2 more breaths here. To feel the hips rising, the side body lifting into the heavens. 1 more inhale, and then hands down, step straight back to downward dog. Okay, shake out the head, yes. Shake it out, no. And then stay put, or roll through your vinyasa, drifting into plank position with your inhale, Lowering with control, elbows close. Upward facing, draw the heart forward. Downward facing, over your toes. So look up between your hands, step your feet behind your thumbs, so they should be hip width. Once you arrive, melt down. As we re-lengthen the spine, you can grab a hold of your ankles once more or tuck your hands underneath your feet for Padahastasana. Now, by practicing Padahastasana, we're going to come in from the front, bringing the tips of the fingers under the heel and the toes up into the wrist joint. As always, bending knees will help to accommodate the hamstrings. When you're ready with your exhale, begin to fold forward, elbows wide, and shoulders lifting up into the sky, helping to maintain not only the length of your spine, but to strengthen those muscles that keep the scapula sinking away from the neck. Now, in particular, those of us that have our hands tucked underneath our feet, we've created a little wedge for the forefoot. So if you bring the weight just a little further forward to that point where you feel a little unsteady, you should notice considerably more stretching through the calf muscles. Last 3. Last exhale. Fingertips to the mat. Lengthening your spine, shorten your stance just that tiny bit, feet a little bit closer, and then this time we'll step the right leg straight back for a long lunging stance. So wiggling the toes away until your left knee is directly atop your left heel. As before, we want to emphasize the hamstrings and the calf muscle of the right leg are going to be lifting into the sky the whole time, no matter where your hips are. So with an inhale, we'll round the spine, lift the hips up a little, look toward your navel. Exhale, as you lunge more deeply, look out into the distance. Inhale, tuck the tail, scoop out the abdomen. Exhale, open your heart, radiate. 3 more times. Rising on the inhale, keep the back of the leg lifted. Exhale. Good. Pushing through the right heel as much as the left knee lunges forward. 1 more time. Lowering your right knee to the mat, point the toes away. Staying on the fingertips initially, let your hips soften down and forward. And then if you're dialing it up, take your hands to your left knee, begin to lift the torso. You're finding just a still point out in the distance to look upon. By keeping the eyes steady, the mind tilts in the direction of focus. And that's where we can start to quiet down. 2 more breaths, lifting out of the front waist. Now our next inhalation, we'll lift out of the right body, reaching the right arm into the sky. Exhale, turn through your belly, wedge the elbow outside the knee, hands to prayer. Lengthen your spine first, and then turning through your tummy, roll the shoulders back. So that twisting action through the belly is going to help to protect the spine, but also help us to shift the breath into the back. So be certain that you are breathing through the back body. And if you did on the first side, at this point now you're welcome to tuck the back toes and lift the knee off of the mat for that added heat. Last 3 breath cycles. Keep your face relaxed as it gazes out into the distance. Final exhalation. And then hands down. Tuck the toes of the right foot as you pull your hips back, melting over the left leg for half monkey. Let your breath cascade down through your left hip, your left calf, right out into your heel. Last exhalation. And then shifting back into our lunge, rock forward, lift the right knee off of the floor. Toe heel step the left foot back about 3 times, pointing the left toes to the left side of your mat. Okay, drop into the pinky toe side of your right foot as you roll open, stacking your left shoulder atop the right. Hand on the thigh, stage 1. Extend the left arm into the sky, stage 2. Or Vashisthasana, stacking the heels. Now the legs, or in this case the one leg, is strongly reaching through the inner heel so that that leg is integrated into your spine. Side body lifting higher for 3. Shoulders reaching down to the hips for 2. Use one more inhale, and then downward dog directly. Hands plant, step back, hips high. Shake up the head, yes. Shake it out, no. And take a deep breath up into your shoulders. Make sure there's no tension held there. So 4 more breaths, or vinyasa. Rolling forward with your inhale, lower with control, elbows close. Cobra or upward dog, reach your 10 toes back. Over those toes, downward facing. Transitioning now to our backs. Look forward between your hands, and with a step or a light hop, come to sit. Then roll down onto your spine, bring your 2 knees in close to the chest for a hug. Try to keep your knees nice and close. And you may notice as you pull them in toward your chest, your hips are inclined to lift a little off of the floor. So let's get the knees a little closer to the heart, but at the same time, sink the pelvis down for 1 more exhale. And keep your left knee where it is, and stretch your right leg out on the floor. Go ahead and interlace your fingers just 2 inches beneath your knee, and start to press the left thigh into the belly sometimes, while you reach through your right foot. Okay? If you in fact bring more and more activity into the straightened leg reaching, it will help you to create some more opening on the left hip as we draw into the ribs, or maybe grazing the ribs, pull down toward the earth beside you. Last exhalation. And then supine head to knee, lift your left leg up into the sky. If you're not grabbing a hold of your big toe today, then by all means just loop that foot with your belt. If you can grab a hold of the big toe, then place your right hand on your right thigh, start to gently bend your left elbow, and exactly like the last pose, what's going on with that right leg? Straighten and reach through it to help you find some more opening through your left hip. Breathing into your hamstrings and into your calves. But be patient. These are big muscles and they take time to open. 2 more exhalations. Reaching through the sole of your left foot into the heavens. Reaching through the toes of your right foot to the top of your mat. Last exhale. Thread the needle. So bend your left knee. Turn it parallel to your chest, and then bring the right leg up toward your ankle. Your left arm between as you interlace your fingers around your right hamstrings, or maybe your right shin if that's accessible to you. Now we really want to protect our knees, especially since this posture in particular is bringing us in the direction of half lotus. So by flexing our feet, but in particular that left foot, it's going to help to firm the connective tissue around the patella, making it safer to explore opening the hip. So as that right knee draws in toward the right shoulder, we feel the emphasis opening the outside of the left waist, the back of the left hip. So try to breathe into that spot. You feel it fill out on every inhale, and then shrink and release on every exhale. Last out breath, sinking the hips as you draw in. And now, if you're holding onto your shin, switch to your hamstring. We're gonna rock up. So with an inhale, kick your right leg, roll back toward your shoulders, exhale all the way up to seated. So from what's basically a figure 4 position, okay, if you're practicing the modified form of the pose, take your left foot off and place it against the inseam of your straightened leg with hips square. This is Janu Shirshasana, head to knee pose. If you're going to be practicing half lotus, the ankle bone of your left leg should be directly atop the thigh, so your foot for the most part is just hanging off to the side. Right hand can hold the foot in lotus as left hand reaches, or more traditionally, reaching your left arm around your back, find your foot or a belt as the right hand now extends forward. So get tall with your inhale, and then on your exhalation, folding directly out. Okay, try to turn your belly just a little bit to the right. So your left kidney, that would be the low back region on the left side, is turning toward your forward leg. Your right kidney is pulling back toward the wall behind you. 2 more exhalations, melting from your heart into the forward fold. And then releasing, sweep both arms up into the sky overhead. Exhale, drop those arms down. Good. Take your right arm behind your back. Grab your forearm with your left hand and pull it as far around as possible. Okay, you're trying to eventually grab for the thigh of your left leg. Okay, that may not be available to you. So if it's not, you can always just grab a hold of your shirt or your waistband. Okay, take your left arm and stretch it down the outside of your right leg. But we're gonna twist. So if you start to round and curl your spine a lot, curl a lot. Okay, this is not gonna be safe to rotate. So we need to only reach as far as we can keep the back straight. Once you're nice and tall, with your exhale, turn your belly to the right, gazing over the right shoulder out into the distance as you gently feel that corset of muscular contraction pushing you upwards, but also protecting the back as you twist. Two more exhalations, tummy turning it. Last out breath is your deepest twist. And then releasing, send both of your legs straight out in front of you. Pause, arms reaching out parallel to the earth. So legs are heavy, legs are lead. Grounding into the earth, inhale, get tall. Exhale, bone by bone, begin to tuck your tailbone and roll down on your spine. Go as slow as you can. When you start to get to the sacrum, things get a little challenging. Legs heavy, legs are lead. And release. Bend both knees in toward your chest, reach around your shins, give yourself a hug. Sinking the hips into the earth as you press the knees together and toward your heart. And then this time now, we'll keep the right leg where it is, extending the left leg long. You might as well change the interlace of your fingers. So the opposite index finger is uppermost, and then start to press that thigh right down into your belly, into your ribs. You're not only stretching the back of the right hip, but if you're breathing deeply enough, you should be able to tune into that compression upon the abdominal organs, tonifying the abdominal tissue, helping to keep everything moving in a healthy fashion. Remember the action of your straightened leg, reaching the toes of the left foot away for 2 more breaths. And then supine head to knee. Extend your right leg up into the sky, reaching up, grab a hold of your big toe, or find your balance. So whenever we're taking the toe grip, we're gonna use the index and middle finger between the first 2 toes. Close those 2 fingers and eventually try to get your thumb around that circuit to give you that nice strong grip. When you're ready, right elbow bends a little, breathing into your hamstrings. So the right leg doesn't need to be straight, as long as you're feeling that sensation of lengthening through the back of the thigh. Bit by bit and practice by practice, the way you eventually arrive at the leg becoming straight is by focusing on the foot radiating. Okay, feeling the bones of the foot spreading, the toes lengthening, and the sole of that foot aiming to stand upon the sky. Last exhale, thread the needle. Bend your knee, turn the shin parallel to your chest, lifting your left knee up to your right ankle. Remember, we're gonna flex the feet quite a bit, so pull your pinky toes back toward your knees, and once you've caught a hold of your left leg, slowly guide it in, knee to shoulder. You really need to be accountable for yourself here. If you look down and you see that your left knee is coming right in line with the center of your chest, your body is trying to get out of that tension. It's trying to escape the resistance that's there. And we have to align the left knee with the left side body in order to actually open that connective tissue. Keep your face relaxed. The roof of the mouth in particular, if you're conscious of softening this area, it just naturally curls the corners of the mouth up into a soft smile. Final exhalation, drawing in just a little bit closer. And now if you're holding on to your shin, switch to your hamstring muscles as we prepare to rock up. So rolling back with an inhale, kick your left leg into the sky. Exhale, up to seated. Now, as before, practicing half lotus, you're going to take the ankle up higher, bringing the heel into the waistband. The knee does not need to touch the floor. Maybe one day, possibly, not important. Okay, but there should be no pain, no discomfort within the knee joint. Okay, if you're feeling a little bit of discomfort in your left thigh because that ankle bone is digging down, you will get accustomed to this in time. But if the right knee is complaining, foot comes down, connects with the inseam. So once you're square, turning the chest basically parallel to the earth, begin to fold forward, reaching over the left leg. Drop your eyes to the inseam of your left leg. And then gently but persistently stretch your heart forward as if you could bring your sternum at the front of your chest out to touch your toes. The left hip pulling back. The left thigh muscle drawing into the hip socket to help create that movement. Now that you're plugging your left hip back into the socket, still try to reach forward through that foot. 2 more breaths. Savor your exhale, and then arms overhead, rise up and release. So this time now, we're going to take the left arm back behind. Grab hold of it with your right hand, draw the arm as far around as possible and try to catch your waistband. If that's not available, your shirt. Right arm stretches out along the outside of your straightened leg as long as your spine is tall. Lift up through your crown and then turning your belly to the left, gaze over your shoulder just a little bit higher than the horizon. The sides of the belly hug in to push us up. Sides of the belly turn us. Left belly pushing back, right belly pushing forward. You should always lead into your twist from the lower regions of the spine. So focus on your belly button. And with every successive exhale, imagine you could turn your belly button slowly to face the back wall. Deep breathing, quality breathing. This will be our last exhalation, so finish off the twist with your out breath. And with your in-breath, turning to center, straighten both legs out before you. This time, we'll take it through traditional vinyasa. Cross your shins, roll over your feet to step or bounce your way back. Keep those elbows close as you reach through your legs. Make them work as much as the arms here. Cobra or up dog, tuck the tailbone underneath. Downward facing, hips into the sky. Center yourself upon your breath. Looking up between your hands, step or lightly hop to the top of the mat, lengthening your spine once you've arrived. Exhale, fold forward, head to knees. Ride the inhale up into the sky, lift your arms high. Equal standing arms by your sides. Turn and face the camera. So standing balance. So option 1, Amber's going to be demonstrating for us Vrikshasana, tree posture. Option 2, I'll show you tree and half lotus, and then a half lotus forward fold. So we're all going to be standing into the left side to begin. So transfer the weight to your left. Throw your right knee out. For tree, find your ankle, calf, or inner thigh as you bring your hands to heart center initially. For half lotus, draw the heel way up into the waistband as you allow the knee to fall open. Again, no discomfort within that knee. So stage 1 with half lotus, you can hold on with your left hand, right hand to heart center, or reaching around the back with the right hand as the left hand comes to heart center. Tree pose, reaching your tailbone into the earth, you can add on the arms, lifting them into the sky. Half lotus, if you know where I'm going, drop the eyes, and with an exhale, folding forward, reach your fingertips for a block or the earth, and then tucking in, gaze toward your knee as you breathe. Now, regardless of the position you're standing in,
try to be mindful of the weight remaining relatively equal through the four corners of your foot. A half lotus, lift halfway with an inhale and then stay. Exhale. Next inhale, grabbing the hip, rise all the way up too tall. Try to find your balance first. Tree, hands to heart center. Inhale, right knee turns to center, hands to hips. Go ahead and point your toes as you stretch the leg long, and then release it. And drop back down into mountain, and then switching sides. Transferring the weight into your right. Tree pose, find ankle, calf, or inner thigh. Half lotus, draw the heel up into the waistband as the hip opens and releases. Okay, finding the best arm position for half lotus today and not comparing it to anybody else or where it was yesterday. And if you're folding, exhale takes you down. In tree, if you're lifting, inhale reaches you up. Listen to your breath, keeping the eyes on a still point to help with the focus and in turn the balance. Half lotus, inhale halfway, stay for the exhale. Inhale, grab a hold with both hands as you rise up to tall. Tree, hands to heart center. Inhale, let's turn it back into the midline, reach out through the toes, and then let it go. Good. So one more toe stand variation, standing balance option. So we're gonna lift up overhead, gaze to thumbs. Exhale, fold all the way down, head to knees. So if your knees are a bit of a problem for you, standing forward fold, perfect place to be. Works exactly with where we're going sequence-wise, and you're not involving any discomfort or, wreaking havoc on any old injuries. So stage 2, you can start to bend your knees, lifting your heels off of the floor as you drop your hips all the way down to sit upon your ankle bones. So we aim here to get the soles of the feet fairly vertical with the thigh bones just about parallel to the mat. Now, if you're finding that you're stable and the knees are comfortable, take your hands in between and start to turn the knees out sideways. Okay, the big toe mound and the inner heel should be connected as you lift up to the tips of your fingers, stacking your spine up vertically. Find that still point in the distance to gaze upon. And if you're really balanced here, you can bring your hands to heart center as you breathe calmly. Feet pushing into the earth as your spine lifts and lengthens into the sky. Just a couple more breaths. Let the tailbone lengthen down as you feel the floor of the hips rising up. Last inhale, hands back down. Slowly begin straightening your legs, turning your feet parallel, and then as the heels drop down, melt into your forward fold. Turn the face up. Lengthen your spine, inhale fully, take it into your vinyasa. Giving yourself a breath, settle in downward dog. Now for our next sequence, we're going to be exploring standing splits. So this is a good opportunity to have your blocks or your books set up at the top of your mat, one for either hand, so that when we eventually arrive at the posture, they're there for us. And once you're situated, lifting right leg up into the sky, take a nice deep breath in, step up between your hands, warrior one. Sweeping the arms into the sky, warrior three. Arms back beside you. We're going to take them parallel to the spine to take some of the straining off of the low back. Now letting the eyes rest upon the earth, maybe about 24 inches in front of your standing leg, as you strongly radiate through the left foot, reaching to the back wall. That's when we want to get out of a posture. When things start to feel a little uncomfortable, that we know we're starting to make change. We're starting to grow within the pose.
So when you hit those uncomfortable spots, remember to smile at yourself and try to take 1 or 2 extra breaths. One more inhale, hovering in space. Exhale, folding forward. Bring your hands to your blocks, either at their tall, medium, or low setting, or eventually bringing your hands all the way down to the earth. Now we want to keep the hips square in this position, so as you fold forward, bending the standing leg to accommodate your hamstrings, keep your eyes on your right knee, and then turn the inner thigh of your left leg toward the ceiling, and eventually toward the wall over your back as that leg lifts higher for 3. Reaching through the toes, breathe. 2, try to take the weight out of your hands as much as you can. 1 more inhale, stretch the leg up high. Bend your knee, slide it down the outside of your right leg to sit into our spinal twist. So we have the right foot standing on the floor outside of our left knee. Our left foot is situated outside of the hip. This is Ardha Matsyendrasana. But if you would prefer modifying this posture, let's say you're having difficulty sitting into your 2 hips equally, then you can always stretch the left leg straight out in front of you to widen your foundation. Right hand behind. Left elbow can hug the knee or wedging outside of the shin. Give yourself a full breath. Really lift the crown of your head into the heavens, and then turning the belly as you either hug or push the right knee over the center line. Okay, that movement, pushing the thigh across the left, is going to help to really open the outer hip quite a bit, and should feel particularly good though after that standing splits we just did. Keep the crown lifting. 3 more breaths. Last exhale, deepest twist. Unwinding, straighten your 2 legs out before you. And then cross your shins to take it through your vinyasa. Rolling over the feet, step or hop your way back, lower with control, shoulders at elbow height for chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog, and then over the toes for downward. All right, so everything left-sided, lifting the left leg high with an inhale, step between your hands. Take your time as you rise into Warrior One, turning the left hip back and the right hip forward. Then arms back beside you as you step off onto the left leg for Warrior Three. So you should only be folding as far forward as you're capable of keeping the standing leg strong and engaged. Okay, if your standing knee is bending or wobbling drastically, then lift your torso up higher. You can even work almost just at mountain pose, as long as the back leg is lifting off of the earth, involving the balance. Now turn the right hip forward as the inner thigh lifts to the sky, and breathe when things start to get a little uncomfortable. You feel that heat building in your left hip, and that's just what we want. The more fire, the more heat we can create now, the better the stretch will be when we fold. One more inhale, and then slowly taking it down, find your blocks, your books, or the earth. Drop the head heavily, gazing toward your left knee, as you notice how much weight is in your hands, how much in your foot. And although the hands stay connected, try to take 99% of the weight into your standing leg. And then lift those right toes into the heavens, smiling as you go. Breathing through your hips, your hamstrings, and your calves for 3. Relax the face, relax the jaw. 2. Last exhale. Lengthen halfway up with an inhale. Bend your right knee, slide it down the outside of your left leg until you come to sit. So we now have left foot outside of the right thigh. Right foot beside the left hip. You can always straighten the right leg to modify. Left hand back, right arm either hugs or wedging outside of the leg in that stop sign position. Get tall as you can, and then turn the tummy. Looking out into the distance at that single point, visualizing the shape of your breath, the whole body of breath within you. Where does that expansion begin and where does it move? How does it influence the connective tissue in the belly, the back, the intercostals between the ribs? Last 3 cycles. Every inhale, we're taller. Every exhale, let go of that resistance and explore the possibility to change. Last complete exhalation, your deepest twist. And then let it go. Send both of your legs straight out before you, moving your blocks or books out of the way. Take it through your vinyasa, crossing your shins, roll over your feet to step or hop back. Transitioning to downward dog, either directly or through the full flow. We're going to take a little extra time tonight, actually more time, focusing on the traditional variation of King of Pigeons. So lifting the right leg up into the sky, bend your right knees, you roll your hips open, and then exhaling, sweeping up, draw the knee behind the right wrist. Okay, your right shin bone should be approximately 45 degrees, and the knee itself should be just outside of your right hip margin. And keeping your hands about shoulder width, begin to walk them in closer to your hips. Pushing down through the palms, draw your shoulder blades back, and now feel the inner thigh of your left leg, reaching through the big toe, and maybe even twisting toward the ceiling slightly. Now, if there's any pressure in your low back, you can always bend your elbows to lessen the lift in the upper body, but more so than that, focus on your tummy, engaging the abdominal muscles and lifting the pubic region up toward your heart is going to rock the tailbone back, which will create the space necessary for us to eventually feel more and more comfortable here. 3 more breaths. Just one more inhale, get as tall as you can, lift out of the front of the waist. When you exhale, slowly folding forward, come down onto your forearms, and then let your head drop. And take 2 full breaths right up into your ears and into the base of your skull. And then after you've unlocked your cervical spine with the breath, try to then find the full movement. Inhale from hips to crown, exhale all the way back down. If you're attentive enough, you'll notice at the end of your exhale, the hips are prone to softening and sinking. Last out breath here. Start to walk your hands back in toward your shoulders, lifting yourself up to tall first. Roll the weight down into your right hip and bring your back leg all the way up and around to cross your shin, face that way, in front of your right knee. So a simple cross-legged seat is where we're going to begin here. Okay, push your feet a little further forward so that your knees and your heels are all in one line and your shin bones are fairly parallel to the top edge of your mat. And lean forward a little, untuck the right hip, untuck the left hip, and then sit back up tall. So mindful of the knees. Okay, if you're feeling any pressure upon the knees, any discomfort here, sit your hips up higher on a couple of cushions, and you can simply stay upright or explore walking the fingertips forward a little bit. If forward fold comes naturally, continue further, moving towards elbows or eventually stacking up your fists. But if you're not quite feeling this stretch on the back of your left hip, then moving into fire log, we would lift the left ankle up to stack it on top of the right knee. And we still want the shin bones parallel to the top of the mat and the feet still flexed. From here then, folding down, dropping to elbows, stacked fists, or palms. As you breathe deliberately into your left hip. Okay, really really try to get all that connective tissue involved. So the inhalation really creates a lot of change, a lot of differing sensation. Last complete out breath, melting all the way in. And then on your inhale, start to walk the hands back, lifting up to tall. Carefully undo your legs, stretch them straight out in front of you. And then once the legs are straight, a little windshield wiper action with your feet side to side. Right. Take it through your vinyasa, cross those shins, roll forward, plant your palms as you step or bounce back to downward dog or through your flow, and that just depends on you. Once you arrive at your downward facing dog, reconnect with the inner margins of your hands, pushing the arm bones straight. Draw the hips away, inhale, left leg high, roll open. Exhale, step up to your knee, swinging the knee just behind the wrist as you land in one-legged king of pigeons. So the shin bone, 45 degrees, sliding your right leg back until you find that comfortable limit. As the hands walk in, you're welcome to remain on your palms, or you might even be able to lift up to your fingertips here to add on a little more of that emphasis, stretching the front body. Back leg is important. Although we're allowing the leg and the hip to sink into the floor, you should feel a subtle reach through your inseam and big toe, and a subtle turn of the inner thigh toward the ceiling. Lift out of your front belly. Breathe open those hip flexors at the front of the right hip. Remember to smile at yourself when things get uncomfortable. Whenever your mind comes up with excuses to bail out, or if it starts trying to reason with you, why do you really need to be in the pose any longer? I'm sure it's been long enough, right? Take another breath. Lifting the eyes, use that inhale to take yourself into your peak, and then begin folding forward. Supported on your forearms or stacked fists, let the head loll, let the neck soften. 2 breaths up to your ears. Really try to unlock the upper trap at the shoulder up into the side of the neck. And then come back to your whole body breath. Hips to crown, inhale. Crown to hips, exhale. That wave-like movement, rising and falling with each cycling of the breath. Last exhalation. Shifting the hands back beneath your shoulders, round your spine up with an inhale. Drop the weight into your left hip, and then swing the right leg around in front of your left shin. So if your knees are quite out wide and the feet too close to center, you're gonna have to squish those knees in and the feet outwards until heels and knees are relatively stacked. Feet flex slightly, untuck the right hip, untuck the left hip. Now maintaining tall or walking the fingertips forward. Stage 2, Agni Stambhasana. Fire log posture, lift the right ankle up upon the left knee, letting the foot hang off so it can stay flexed. And then begin to move into your perfect edge. That intelligent point where things get a little uncomfortable, but they're not so intense in sensation that it provokes the mind. As always, when given liberty to, our body will shortcut. It's going to follow the path of least resistance, be it nervous pathways that have already been established, habitual patterns, or just the place in the body that happens to be the most open. Be conscious of those patterns that exist. Be conscious of when you just settle into a place that's comfortable because it's easy.
And then explore perhaps what your motivation is. Try to find those comfortable discomforts and smile at yourself, remembering that this is where growth occurs. Do your best to keep your head heavy as we transition out of the posture. So start to walk your hands back in, rounding your spine up tall. Carefully undo your legs as you stretch them out before you, and then side to side windshield wiper the feet. Crossing your shins, roll over those feet to step or bounce your way back, transitioning to downward dog, either direct or flow. Now back to seated, looking up between your hands, step or lightly hop, landing on the hips. Once you stretch your legs straight out in front of you, take your heels to the top left-hand corner of your mat, and then scoot your hips to the right edge. Once that's done, left leg opens out wide to the side for a seated, wide-legged forward fold. Now if your low back is rounding, please bend your knees. You can bend them considerably, or grab a hold of those bath towels to lift your hips a little further off of the floor, helping to adapt the inner thighs and hamstrings. May the toes point straight up toward the ceiling in a neutral position, and the hands reaching out before your shoulder width. So once your hands hit the mat, pull back just a little to help you get taller, and with your exhale, start to walk your hands forward until you find that comfortable discomfort. So for most of us, our hips are going to be different between the right and the left side. This particular pose is going to stretch both hips, but if you progress slowly enough and you're listening, you should be able to discern the difference between the two sides. And then, spreading the awareness out even further. Breathe out to the inner margins of your knees, your inner calves. Try to breathe out to your toes. At the peak of your inhale, try to feel like your toes are growing just a little bit. With every exhale, let the back of your heart fall. Are you holding tension in your jaw, your nose, your eyes, or ears? If so, smile and try to lighten up a little. Two more exhalations. Really revel in gravity. Feel it wrapping its arms around you and pulling you in. And then up we go, nice and slow. Walk your hands back in toward the hips as you sit up tall. Swing the left leg back up to the top of the mat, scooting your feet to the center line so you're back perfectly neutral. Bend both your knees in, drop them out to the sides, soles of the feet connected for bound angle. Seated on a block if your knees are higher than your navel center in this pose. Catching hold of your feet, option one, you can just interlace your fingers around your feet. Option two, you can go ahead and thread your fingers into the webbing between your toes to help you really open up the bones of the feet. Just like the last pose, lift up, heart open, and then exhale with a long spine, folding forward. Drop your gaze to the earth just in front of your toes. So we might think about this pose from a very outward perspective. Oftentimes we get very caught up in trying to get the knees toward the floor. But trying to push your knees down toward the mat is not ever as gratifying as trying to stretch your thigh bones outwards. So reach your right knee to the right wall and your left knee to the left wall. Don't even worry about the floor. Just let your hips open and expand away from the center line as you breathe. Through the front of the hips, the low back, maybe even feeling that breath wrapping its way around the outer thighs.
exhale, long spine, reach your nose beyond your toes, round your back and stack it up bone by bone. Closing the knees up together, reach around your shins for a hug, and then just casually roll down onto your back, mindful of what's behind you. A little side to side rocking. Happy baby. So lifting your feet toward the ceiling, open your knees wide, grab for the outer edges of your feet with the knees fully wider than your torso. If you're having a hard time grabbing your feet, you can always grab a hold of your ankles or just grab for the backs of your knees. Lengthen your spine back out, dropping your hips and your shoulders into the floor with an inhale. Then begin to pull down on your feet. And bit by bit, as your knees get closer to the floor, your hips may lift just a little. So find a balance, an equilibrium between all these actions. Long spine sinking, biceps engaging. Now, from holding the outer edges of the feet, switch to the inner heels. Okay, this pose may not look very different from Happy Baby, but we're going to inhale to sink our hips back and down into the earth, and then exhale to attempt straightening our legs outwardly in one last wide-legged stretch. So radiate through your inner heels as the left foot reaches to the back left-hand corner and the right foot to the back right-hand corner. Take 2 more breaths out to your big toes. Last exhale, pull those feet down over your shoulders, and then bring them back together and hug. We'll finish off with a spinal twist. So the gentlest option is just keeping the legs side by side. For a deeper twist tonight, you can cross your right thigh over top of your left, shifting the legs effectively into eagle posture. Drop the arms out wide, and then exhaling both knees off to the left side. Once those knees drop down to the floor, turn your chin to the right side, gazing out into the distance, or if you prefer, just gazing into the back of your closed eyelids. Soften the face, let go of the hips, the knees, and the feet, let them fall. Essentially, this pose should be as passive as you can make it while you amp up your breathing. Okay, not making it any faster, but do allow it to grow in size, to grow in dimension. As you come to the conclusion of an exhale, turn your head back to center first. Inhale, lift your knees. Reach around for a little hug, and if you cross your legs, as you undo them, really swing your hips back to center so your spine is neutral. Left thigh over top. If you're taking eagle, open the arms out wide, and then exhaling, knees fall to the right side of your mat. Once the knees have dropped, turn your chin to the left, looking into the palm of your own hand or the backs of your own lids. Breathing fully through your back body. We want to get that full sensation of expansion and contraction through the low back, into the spaces between all the ribs. And those tiny muscles that web their way between the ribs are essential respiratory muscles. So get them moving. Release that congestion, those areas of restriction. Just about 2 more breaths. Last little bit of unwinding. And then just like before, when you conclude an exhale, center your head. Inhale, lift your knees. Reaching about the shins one last time, give yourself a good hug. And then start to stretch everything out into your final corpse posture, Shavasana. A little rocking of the feet, windshield wiper action to help loosen and open the hips. Let them finally settle with the toes falling away from center and the heels wider than your waist. You turn your palms to face the ceiling if they're not already. Traction your right arm down and then your left arm to draw the shoulder blades a little further away from the ears. And finally, a little tuck of the chin in to lengthen the back of your neck. Soften the jaw and the roof of the mouth. Soften your sinuses at the bridge of your nose. Feel the eyes melting down into the earth beneath you. And the space between your ears opening up, becoming void, empty of sensation. Tune into your breath. But to really challenge yourself, allow the breath to flow naturally without any control. To observe your natural breathing process without manipulating it or managing it in any way really requires a great deal of focus. But if we focus too hard, we start to take over. Not enough, we get lost in our mind. Do your best to find an equilibrium, maintaining your attention, but still remaining a passive witness. And each time you inevitably drift up, smile. For it's happening to all of us. Smile, and then come back to your breath. Again and again.
And so allowing your awareness to spread out further and further. Wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, charge up the arms and the legs. From those small movements, let them grow larger, rocking hands, rocking feet. And inching everything together, bring your legs close as you point your feet. Reach out long through your arms with your inhale, stretch, and release. Bend your knees in, reach around your shins, give yourself a little hug. And then once doing so, roll off to one side and begin pressing your way up into a comfortable seat. Anchoring down well through your hips as you lift up tall through the back of the spine. Let the chin drop forward slightly so the back of the neck is long. And softly close your eyes if they're not already. Looking back within, noticing the effects of your practice, the state of your body, the state of your mind. And then drawing your hands together at heart center. Turn the corners of the mouth up into a little smile and thank yourself for your practice, for the effort that you brought to your mat, the change that you cultivated with your every breath. And then taking a moment to acknowledge your friends, your family, your acquaintances, and even those people in your life that antagonize you. And as you take pause, do your best to send that gratitude outwardly to all of those people, thanking them for the influence they have upon your life. We are honored that you would share your practices with us. Namaste.